Virtual summits are the most powerful online marketing tool available to grow your list, launch your platform, make more money, and create an impact in the world, even if you're just getting started. If you are ready to take your summit to the next level, then tune into the Virtual Summit Podcast with Dr. Mark T. Wade.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mark T. Wade, founder of Virtual Summit Software and creator of the One Day Summit Formula. And I'm on a mission to help you, the summit host, get your summit out to the world in a powerful and impactful way. So let's get started. Hey, Summit host, Dr. Mark T. Wade here, founder of Virtual Summit Software and your host on the Virtual Summit Podcast. And I am so excited for today's episode because we are going to be talking about something so important, so powerful, so magnificent. I hope you are ready for this episode because it is going to be a game changer, not only in your summit, but in your business as well. And we are extremely fortunate to have legendary Ivy Slater here with us today. Hey, Ivy, how you doing?
Hey, Mark. Good to be here.
Well, I am so excited that you're here because I cannot wait to talk about this topic that we're going to dive into about relationships. And I'm not even going to give away like the area or how or what we're going to be getting into. Just know, Summit hosts listening to this right now, it is going to change the game of your business. And it's going to start with your summit. Now, before we jump into those summit gems and goodness, Ivy, I'd love for you to just take a quick second and tell our audience a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. So Ivy Slater, I'm a speaker, author, podcast host myself. I come into companies, I help them grow and scale through trainings, coachings, and consulting. We look at from leadership down and one of my things with business owners is looking at the marketing, sales, money, and the mindset of success as the 4 pillars of how you strategize.
Excellent. And I cannot wait to dig into some of that expertise and experience you've got there, not only in building businesses, but obviously as being a summit speaker on a variety of different summits. And what I'd like to actually do is kind of talk about first off, your experience as speaking on summits. Like what's some like one of the positives maybe like you're like heck yes for summits, and what's one of those things that you're like if this happens, no go?
Positives is I've had clients stay with me for years that I've actually met on a summit. So you can't get more positive than that. It's everybody thinks about Summit as list building and it's a great list building tool, and that's fabulous. But guess what? Getting a client is even better. So that's check and check. Negatives, I call it those greedy people. People who are in it for themselves. The people who don't realize that as you give and the more generous you are, the more you receive out there. And there's a lot of words for them. We probably can skip that. I'm from New York, so I could probably trash that pretty bad. But it's the takers and not the givers. If I see anybody affiliated with in a summit who's that taker attitude, and or that me-centric attitude, I just will not do anything with them again. I will not take a recommendation from them because I don't trust their referrals. And I will completely shut that down.
I absolutely love that. And, our audience here knows that those people, we call those the list grabbers. We don't have any of those listening here. Fortunately, we kind of weed those all out, but I love it when we hear it direct from the mouth of some of our most valuable people, which is our speakers, our summit speakers. So everybody listening in, hear that. If you are focused on trying to just grab your speaker's list or you're all about you, you're going to be not just losing out on your summit, but in the long run here. And what does that come down to? It comes down to relationships, right, Ivy? So let's jump into that aspect because I know you are a relationship person. You put relationships first. What does that mean to you, and how does that relate to the summit? Like, how do you take relationships out of a summit?
So here's the thing. Everybody thinks, summits is an online experience. Okay. Bottom line, no surprise there. Business doesn't come solely from online. Business comes in developing relationships. So taking it online, starting it online, and developing that offline relationship. So how do you do that? What do you do? What are your actions going to be like? What is going to separate you from the masses? Find something a little unique. Where's your audience? Every business is a little different. Okay. Some businesses, especially let's say beauty businesses, food businesses, very Instagram centric, right? Very visual Instagram. Okay. A lot of coaching and consulting in leadership is very much on LinkedIn. Where is your audience and how are you playing to it? So we have, your drip campaigns that are going to come out afterwards. The summit host is going to give it to the summit speaker. And many just plug in the name and send. No. Plug it in, read it. Make sure it's your voice. Make sure you're driving it to where your people are. What do you want to gain out of it? All the other summit speakers and all the potential to list build. You don't want everybody's massive lists. You want your people from those lists.
Virtual Summit's software makes hosting a summit easier than ever. The only software in the world designed specifically for hosting a summit lets you set up a summit in a matter of hours with no tech skill or team needed. You can try out the Virtual Summit's software free at virtualsummits.com. But hurry, this is a limited offer.
Oh, that's so important there. I always say the empower of a list is not about the size of the list. It's about the quality and engagement of that list. So let's like break this down into some pieces here so we can consume it. Because when we say like build a relationship, like that sounds great, but like how do we actually do that? So let's take it from the aspect of a summit host. I'm going to be building out my summit. Like I'm getting started. We're going to break this down into before, during, and after, because I truly believe the power of relationships does not stop when the summit ends. So let's start off with that, Ivy. Like, what are some things we should be thinking about as we're like getting started with our summit before it goes live? Like and of course we know there's all these other aspects of how you build out your summit. We're not even going to touch those. We're going to focus on the aspects of relationships. What should we be thinking about as we're getting started with our summit?
People start jumping into the summit, as you said, to list build. But what's your true goal and your true purpose behind the summit? Okay, to pick up a few thousand strangers, okay, that you'll never know on the street, you'll never see again, is not even your tribe. So identify your goal, your purpose, and your intention. Before you start running through all the systems and procedures that are in the handbooks, et cetera, stop and create what's in it for you. Why are you doing this? It's energy, it's time, it's money. Okay? And sometimes the energy and the time is more valuable than the money. Because what I can do with my time is make more money than what I spend. So I don't worry about that. But what's your intention of walking away with? What's your goal? It's not just about list building. Is it truly about touching people in what way? To communicate what? What's the purpose? Don't fluff over that. Too many people do.
And I'd say like too many people, they're not even considering this. They're not even thinking about it at this point because they're busy going, oh my gosh, I got to build out a summit, right? Luckily now we have things like the virtual summit software, which makes the aspect of doing a summit easier. So hopefully people will spend more time doing this. But I love how you just identified at the beginning, you got to first think about it. You got to identify your goals. Now, let's say we've identified, who we want, like our ideal audience. And these are the people we are going to be trying to attract to our summit. What are some things we could be doing or even thinking about doing to build a relationship with this audience? Let's kind of switch over to the during. Let's say the summit's going. We're going to just focus on the audience of the summit. What are some things we could be doing to build that relationship? A lot of times we kind of separate, what should or could be common sense because it's online and we kind of forget this. So help bring us back to the basics here.
So, once that summit is going on, you have drip campaigns going on. Okay. And I said, don't just do them blatantly and plug them in. Really read them and say, where are my people? So although you are thinking about, we want to drive everybody to a mailing list. Okay. if people eventually either don't open it because they don't hang out in their emails, their assistants open it. Okay. They basically put in a different email that they don't check often, so they're not reading it anyway. So if you think about where are your people, a lot of my people are on LinkedIn. Okay, a lot of my people are on Instagram. So even in my interview, I would really push and mention LinkedIn. Hey, you might want to, I put my articles and some videos and some trainings out on LinkedIn because my people would generally just go there. And then I'd say, hey, feel free to friend me and remember to use virtual summit, blah, blah, whatever it is, right? So we know, and now we're building a relationship. I get to actually just know who you are as opposed to just be a person who friends me. And we can actually now create a relationship. We can create a real conversation, which is not me just throwing data in your inbox.
And let's look at this as like a business too. Like we got the summit, but there's other aspects, as you've just mentioned, to reach out to our audience. So of course, we're going to have them in our email list. We're going to be sending them emails through our autoresponders, drip campaigns. We can invite them over to social. Are there any other strategies or any other tactics that you can think of that either you've used or you've seen people use to just reach out to people in a different way? Because we're all getting slammed in our email box. What about another way to reach them?
So another really, we're looking at the main audience of the people who are summit listeners, and we forget who the other summit guests and their valuable resources. So reaching out to them directly and say, hey, I see we're going to be on this summit together. Do your research. Go do that stalking, so to speak. Look at the other summit speakers. There might be some really valuable connections in there for you. Maybe you want to be speaking on certain platforms and you take a look at their portfolio, their bio, their website, their LinkedIn, their Instagrams, their Facebooks, whatever you're on, right? You kind of look at them and say, wow, they know this person, I know this person, and that's a really great resource. Or I might be able to help them out. Reach out to those other speakers. There's huge value there.
Completely agree. The speakers are an untapped resource. Now, specifically, this goes for summit hosts. You're going to be reaching out to all of the speakers, of course, but when you are speaking as a summit speaker on these other platforms or on these other summits, oh my gosh, such an untapped, opportunity is sitting right there. And so if we're reaching out to them, we're going to be letting them know what are some ways that maybe we can reach out to them? Because maybe we don't have their email yet. So like, what are some like you were saying, non-stalkerish, but yet still stalkerish ways of reaching out to some of these summit speakers?
Perfect. Go on LinkedIn, go on Facebook. But I'm a LinkedIn girl. So I would go on LinkedIn. I would send a friend request with a personal note saying, hey, I see we're both going to be on blank summit. And so clearly we both are, if the summit's around health and wellness, if the summit's around money or business building, whatever it is. So we clearly have blank in common. Love to have an opportunity to get to know you. Go be really personal with that. And the value there, that's those relationships that come back and pay you in the thousands and not just, looking for numbers as far as list building. There's another way, when I see others and I can actually connect before the interview, I will, during the interview, share with, oh, I'm so honored. I see blank person, and blank person is also on this. And this whole group has such value. And I will reference other speakers if I know them or I have relationships with them. I will give in that way because it's a win-win for everyone.
Be sure to check out the speaker management tool inside your virtual summit software, which lets you quickly and easily recruit and manage your speakers on your virtual summit, literally eliminating hundreds of hours of work. Get more information at virtualsummits.com.
I love this. And also it goes back to kind of like what you were saying too. Look for an opportunity not to ask or to take, but to give first. So when you're reaching out to these other speakers and you're introducing yourselves, look for a way to potentially offer them something. Let them come on your podcast or do a Facebook Live to your group, or make a connection for them with somebody else. I love this. A good friend, Jay Facette, who we had on here recently, talked about, he's an affiliate manager expert. And he talks about too many times we're trying to ask for something first. Start with giving. So this goes right aligned with what we were talking about at the beginning, Ivy. I love that. So just to kind of recap here, and then we're going to shift a little bit into the after. So before, think about the audience. Think about who they are and what's the goals. Then look at other opportunities to reach out to them in other ways that they're not already being reached out to. Ivy talked about LinkedIn, which is an amazing opportunity. Maybe even other like outside the box ways. It's like just like direct mail, or something that's not just in their inbox, something they're not getting every day. Look for the opportunities to connect. And then Ivy mentioned an incredible thing that I believe is really, really being overlooked by summit speakers. So when you speak on a summit, don't just do your part in peace. Stay in there. Reach out to the other speakers, build relationships from being on that summit. You have an opportunity to reach out to them. That's not spammy. It's not weird. It's normal and it's good. Use that. And then I'd also say, what I'd like to get your thoughts on this, Ivy. As a summit speaker, when you're on a summit, being asked to speak on a summit, let's say this is your target clients. This is the right audience for you. What are some ways that you as a summit speaker can build relationships with that audience during the summit?
So host a Facebook Live, which I love. Try to gather the community as a give. It's great to be on with you, Mark today or whoever that is, Mary Jo, doesn't matter, right? And since you're really putting some time on to listen to these things this week, it might really be interesting to know that every Monday at, 12 noon, I do a Facebook Live lunch. And you can hear I'm making up as I'm going along, but just think it through. Every Monday, I kick off the week. We set our intentions for the week. We set our goals for the week. We set our action plans for the week. You probably want to check that out this week. And then in every autoresponder, I will have that Facebook Live link. Right? Hey, by the way, you joining me? And I will make sure that my mailings might be hitting on a Monday morning, right? Saying, hey, just on this, you definitely want to check out. And if you want to set your goals or intentions for the week, join me for lunch today. We all have, grab a salad, a sandwich, or a happy juice, and join me at noon, and let's hear your intention. So do something that fosters engagement, because the numbers of the list don't help the engagement of the people you're connecting to. I did a huge list scale down this beginning of last year. We did a list cleaning campaign over 2 months, and we cut our list drastically, and the engagement soared.
It's so powerful. That is like right there. And as you just mentioned, it's the quality and engagement of that audience. Now, going on with what you're actually saying here, I think an area that speakers miss out on too, as you're saying, is engage, like give Facebook Lives, do other things. And another area that I really truly believe that speakers could benefit while also building the relationship is giving more. I mean, as a summit host and working with lots of summit hosts, they would love for you to be involved in engaging with that audience. So here's something to think about for all you summit speakers out there is, one, it's not just about speaking on a summit and being in front of the audience. Your goal is ultimately probably to build some tribe of your own from that summit, and ultimately hopefully get some clients from there. Well, what's the best way to do it is to be more involved in the summit, especially if you can't necessarily hammer your own email list. Go into into that host Facebook group, Do a Facebook Live for them. Give the host something extra of yours that they can give away to the audience that just puts you in front of the audience more. Think of ways that you can give to that host that will ultimately get you in front of that audience more, but it builds a relationship, right, Ivy?
It's the relationships. My saying is relationships are the golden ticket to success. It's a matter of, are you working the relationships? And, bottom line, Mark, here's the deal. Most people fall off on follow-up. Most people fall off on follow-up. We have the best of intentions going in. We start, full steam ahead. We're going, we write the drip campaigns, we fix the drip campaigns, we do this, that, and the other thing. And then 10 days later, 20 days later, 2 months later, all that effort is done. And old expression, money's in the follow-up. Are you willing to leave the money on the table? Because an enormous amount of money on the table is often left on the table. Bottom line.
So true. And it is in that follow-up, as you were just saying. So let's move over into this. Let's talk about the after. So we're going to come at this as for you summit hosts here. Let's discuss ways that we can build relationships with the speaker. We're not even going to talk about the audience right now. We all know we're going to follow up with the audience, and that's where most summit hosts focus. But most of us, hand raised over here, I know I've done this too. I don't have a follow-up process. And we do now, but in the past, we didn't have a follow-up process. And so 3 or 4 months are going by and I haven't even talked to my speakers. So as a summit speaker, Ivy, what would be some ideal ways that would really help build relationships with you? Let's say I'm the summit host and we've just rocked an amazing summit. Now, what should I be doing after this and for how long? Let's talk through some brainstorms.
So number one, I'll always say, just because we're in business, we cannot forget our manners. Okay? Because you're a business owner, because you're a business leader, because of that, we must lead with manners. We must set the example. So in that way, a personalized thank you note. Okay? You referenced direct mail before, Mark. You're talking to a woman who owned a printing company. I was in the industry for over 20 years before I opened Slater Success. I'm a huge fan of direct mail. And one of the things is why direct mail is back is because everything's in our inbox and there's very little in our mailbox, except a few bills if you're not getting them online. So here's the deal. If there's nothing coming to you that's a beautiful window, a beautiful box to stand out in, write a personal, I'm gonna be so kind to you guys and even show you. Write a personal thank you note. Keep them handy. Be ready with them. Write a thank you note. 30 days later, follow up. Okay? Again, with an email, and be personal in it. You only had 12 to 20 people. It's not that many. Don't mass email them. Be personal and reference a tip they gave. Okay? Be personal. 60 days later, touch base with them again. Hey, how did the summit, we're doing, I just wanted to see, your best, how the summit worked for you, what didn't work for you. Virtual summits are still part of the business building. And the only way that we can do these things well is to touch base. What have you seen in your list? What has worked for you? What has not? Jump on the phone with them. What I'm talking about is in 60 days, get back on the phone and do a debrief. Build that relationship. You can actually then get some strategies, tips, or feedback that could be worth more money to you than, again, the hopeful thousands of people you're trying to pick up.
With the Ever Summit feature inside the Virtual Summit software, you can rerun your summit as if it were live, ongoing forever with one click of a button. This now lets you continue to use your summit forever, bringing in qualified and engaged leads every month into your business. Get more information at virtualsummit.com.
It is so true. And I mean, I'll even share just briefly our follow-up process. Because one of the biggest things I think that happens is we don't plan it, right, Ivy? Like, we're not thinking about it. We get caught up. I mean, when you run a summit, there's a lot going on, especially after the summit. You're focused on helping those audience. So as Ivy mentioned at the beginning, you should be thinking about it before your summit ever goes live. It should be a part of the planning process, which I just want to asterisk that, highlight, underline right there. That is so true, Ivy. One of the things I also recommend is every time you do an interview, you set a part of your interview time for post-production. And what we'll do there is we'll go through and I will highlight a note or a thing like you just said, Ivy. What is a tip that they gave away? I make a note of it right then and there, as well as this needs to be edited out or that needs to happen, or here's a great clip that we can use for promotions. I do it all right there so it's done. And then we actually write that in. It is a follow-up campaign. It is automated, but it's now personalized because it's something specific from them, and my team knows to put that in. And then again, another thing that you said, Ivy, is the debrief. We have that 30-day. Well, actually, we do that usually about 2 weeks after the summit. We do a debrief, and we bring everybody on. We try and invite all of the speakers on, because what do the speakers want as well? Like you already said, Ivy, they want to be able to meet each other. So we try and make it like a fun party. And here's a key. If you really want to connect with them, transparent. Don't just talk about what was good. Talk about what maybe something you didn't do great that you want to improve on, because that goes a long way for trust building, right? Which is a part of the relationship. And then, of course, I like to have my follow-up sequence go up to 6 months. And several of the emails that go out are specifically about them. It's what are you working on right now? Is there anything I can do to help you? It has nothing to do with me. And you'd be so surprised. Ivy, that's exactly how we get them on the phone. Like you were just saying, get on the phone with them. Well, one of the great ways to get on the phone with them is ask them what they need help with, right? Like these, so I love all of this that you're saying, Ivy. Let's go throw me another one or two great strategies that you got.
So let's pick up on what you just said. I had a dear colleague, friend, who passed away within the last couple of years. And I had the honor of sharing the stage with him a bunch of times. And he would just get out there and say, and I was like, in honor of Tony, and I will say this always in honor of Tony, one of the greatest things I learned from him is, what do you need and how can I help you? He'd just stick out his hand. Hi, what do you need? How can I help you? And it transcended from the one-on-one, the first time I met him, to sharing stages, to standing in front of an audience of a few hundred and say, guys, I'm here. This is how to reach me. What do you need and how can I help you? And that was one of, my greatest learning lessons. And I'm like, Tony, would it be bad if I stole that line? He goes, what's the line? What's the line? It's truth. And that's how we show up. And that fosters, truly building. People do business with people. Don't forget it. Don't think we do business with brands. Don't say, well, I don't really do business with people because, my business, I sell to big brands and this, that, and the other thing. No, the company is the brand. You're still doing business with people. So never, ever forget that. A business is a conglomerate of people, and there's one person that gets to say yes. And are you actually building the relationships with the decision makers?
So good. I mean, this whole episode right here, Ivy, has been phenomenal. And in my opinion is so important. Please, 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 summit hosts, I hope you're writing this down. You're going to be speaking on summits as well. I mean, you're getting all kinds of great goodies here. Summit hosts, summit speaker tips, all of it. Now, as we start to wrap this up, Ivy, I'd love everybody sitting there going, Mark, I need more of Ivy in my life. Where can I get a hold of her? How can I reach out to her? Why don't you let them know where you're hanging out and the best way to get in touch with you?
Sure. I'm going to give you guys a couple of resources. Definitely check out the website, slatersuccess.com. You could, from there, I did a video on 7 traits of great leaders. Definitely want to give that a download and a listen. There's some really good tips there. Invitation, did I mention just a few times I tend to hang out on LinkedIn? So Instead of just friending me on LinkedIn, say, hey, I saw your interview on Mark's Virtual Summit podcast. Hello. Tell me what stuck with you. What did you take away? If it's something Mark said, it's something I said. Create that personal connection immediately, because then we're going to chat. And of course, in honor of my great friend Tony, what can I do? What do you need? How can I help you? I'm here to support great people, great businesses, and all of us then have a great life.
So good. And we'll make sure we get all of that access to Ivy and the ways to reach out to her over in the show notes at podcast.virtualsummits.com/122. Ivy, I'm going to let you kind of wrap us up here. What's one parting piece of wisdom that you want, that you feel like, Summit hosts, the audience listening here just needs to remember, needs to know as we wrap this episode up?
So I shared with Mark, I'm not going to give you guys the whole story, but I'm going to tell you how you can find it. So I go back about 18 years with a client. I was in the printing industry. She was in a whole different industry. Through those 18 years and a very, very valuable golden ticket relationship, I can directly track 7 figures of sales to one human being. In my book, From the Bar to the Boardroom, I expand on it. That came out in the last year. You want to really put your time, your energy. People are valuable. We don't focus on the money, focus on the people, and the money will come.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That was so good. Thank you again, Ivy. This has been absolutely phenomenal. I'm so happy we've been able to sit here and pick your brain for the last half hour. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you, all you Summit hosts, for spending this time with Ivy and I. I'm Dr. Mark T. Wade, founder of Virtual Summit Software. Just remember, your message matters. So go out there and make an impact in the world. Don't forget to head over to the show notes to get all of these amazing goodies that Ivy just shared with us at podcast.virtualsummits.com/122. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening. Now don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review on the Virtual Summit podcast. Head over to the show notes to check out all the links and resources from this episode, and be sure to grab your free trial of the Virtual Summit software.
Now, I want to end this episode by saying to all the Summit hosts listening right now, I believe in you, and you can do this. Summits are by far one of the most powerful ways to quickly grow your list, launch your platform, make more money, and most importantly, make an impact in the world, even if you're just getting started. So don't get caught up in analysis paralysis, because the world needs to hear your message, and there are people who are waiting for you to help them. So just get started, because imperfect action is always better than no action. Thank you, and see you on the next episode.